Hi, this is Shelley Letwin from GV Design Canada, and welcome back for part 10. Gosh, you made it this far. Again, this is part 10 of our matrix setting series. And you don't have to have matrix to use the same numbers that I'm recommending. Again, these are guidelines that I have developed over the last 20 years of teaching matrix, talking to casters, talking to setters, talking to other CAD users. And again, if your setter doesn't agree with me, listen to them. As I keep stressing, they're the ones that are ultimately going to have to set it and make it look beautiful and make sure that the stones are set securely. So I'm all for it if someone's got a better way how I do it. And please share it with me if you wish. Okay, so in part 10 here, this is a cluster from Cluster Builder. So it's not technically a setting style. Again, it's a builder within Matrix, and it works fairly well. It's an old builder, but anytime you have to do a design like this, it works very, very well. Okay, you'll notice that there's a cabochon here, almost a 13 millimeter by 13 millimeter cab bezel set, and then we've got 22 2.5 millimeter round gemstone set along the edge. Okay, so this is why you buy Matrix, or another reason why you buy Matrix. You can easily achieve this look. Now, some people will want to do this all by hand, but if you don't know a highly skilled jeweler that can do this, then this builder is awesome. Back to measurements. So let's go to the looking down viewport. Sorry, I'll just change my shade to shaded. There we go. And if we go to measure, if we go to horizontal dimension, I have project turned on. So we're about 0.75 for these outside prongs or claws. And I like that thickness. Some people don't want it that heavy, but again, these guys are on the outside. They're going to get more wear and tear than these guys on the inside. And I believe I made these inside ones finer. Nope, I made them the same. But within the builder, you can adjust having these ones thinner, these ones thicker, and there's different arrangements for the prongs. So if we go into gems, here is Cluster Builder, and when I click on it, again, I go into detail with this in my intermediate class on how to build this ring, but here's a brief overview of this builder. Now you're going to put your center gemstone in the box. I would then make a setting for your center gemstone, so then you'll know how far this row of gemstones should be away from the girdle and how far down, and you can also angle it. You can choose your gem size in millimeters and how many gems you want, or you can let the computer choose how many gems it needs with a spacing in between the stones. And then what are these down here? They're just helping you place the stones in a correct location. If we go to next, this talks about your under bezels and what profile shape. This is a percentage. I did leave this at 50%, but if you want them a little thicker, you can change this percentage. And then this is the distance from the girdle. Then you click on next. And then when you first drop your gemstone, so if we go back, so when you first drop your center gemstone, it does create a curve, the outline of your center gemstone. And then this is what it's talking about with the base curve. And you can drop it in there and then lower it down to whatever height that you want. And that's where the prongs are going to build from the top of the prongs down to the bottom based on this base curve. So it comes in flat. I bent it using curve from two views. So I was able to get sort of the saddle look here where it's bent around the ring rail. And then here you can determine on the height of your prongs the width of your prongs on the inside, and the same thing with the outside, so you can make these guys a little heavier. Now you'll notice too on the arrangement that I chose was this one here. But again, you could have the single or the double in the middle, single on the outside, single on the inside, double on the outside, and then 2 on the inside, 2 on the outside. Sometimes you don't like where these arrangements are. Most of the time I'm okay with what's going on the outside, but you may not like the arrangement here. So one thing is that these are not grouped together. So you could move a couple of these together the way you want, delete the rest of them, polar array to get the look that you want or the distance that you want. Another thing to keep in mind, this is a bezel. If we look at this bezel, notice, hang on, let's turn off these colors here. Okay, so I made the bezel intentionally like this so that when the setter goes to set this gemstone, that this is beveled. So again, they're not going to have to file away too much, and then they can just push or burnish over that metal to hold the gemstones. But again, I wanted this beveled like this so that when I print it and cast it, that these prongs are not connected to the wall here, so that the setter can easily push these over. So you got to keep in mind here to make it easy. Sometimes the setter doesn't even touch these. You could lower these down and then pre-notch in here so that this is the only claws that actually get worked on. These are just standing still with a little notch on them so that the stone can just tuck in there and you're just pushing down here. So that's another option. So this is a short video. I just wanted to go through this briefly to show you how great this builder is. And I know if you've used it and if it ended up being a train wreck, I'm sorry. But I have used it many, many times and been able to build this type of setting for my clients very quickly. You can also do a double row as well. So you just have to run it again and space out from here to the outside and then just run it again. Anyways, that's a couple little tricks on Cluster Builder. If you've got to build one of these, this is the greatest tool. And I'm not a fan of clusters. I don't like them at all. I sold way too many of these in the 70s at my dad's jewelry store. So just to recap, so you're going to just make sure that the center gemstone can be set properly with the bezel or the head that you design, with proper heights and proper thicknesses. The cluster itself, just make sure that these inside prongs are going to be about 0.5 to 1 millimeter in diameter. The height, these ones are 1 millimeter, but you may want them slightly lower and pre-notch them for your setter so that they can easily slide them in and push it over. You might think about making the outside prongs a little heavier because, again, they're the ones that are going to get the most amount of wear. And the other thing too is the height. Let's talk about this. If we go in the through finger viewport and let's just go into shaded. Now the height can be determined on what kind of gemstones you have. You might have a color stone with a very deep belly. And again, that's going to dictate on how high this is. But also you kind of want a nice look here. So what is my height? So if we go to measure, and let's just go with the vertical. Okay, so that's almost 10 millimeters high. That's quite high for a ring. But again, this is quite a large stone and you kind of want a spectacular look. So this looks very, very nice. And again, you can mess around with the bottom angle of prong to get the look that you want. I went in for sort of more of this swoopy look, but if you want more of a basket style, that's when you start messing around with this number here. Okay, so that's talking about Cluster Builder. Again, I'm Shelley Letwin from GV Design Canada. I do teach primary, intermediate, and advanced matrix classes online, or you're welcome to buy the videos. We have one more video to watch. So happy that you sat in, and if you've been watching all the videos, that's great. And we'll see you on the next video.